Hello, hello, dear listeners. Welcome back to another episode of Therapy Reveal. This is Blue, your host for today's episode. And in today's episode, we are covering part 3 of our conversation with Emily Wu Truong, who is an award-winning national speaker, storyteller, and visual and performance artist. And you may remember from our last episode, we were talking with Emily about her personal experiences and stories that she has collected over the years as a mental health advocate and the things that she's seen. So we're also going to talk a little bit more about facing adversity, especially with her experience as a current mental health advocate. So I hope you enjoy this third part of our conversation with Emily.
When I went to church recently, not that I'm religious, but when you are out there in the world and you're trying to figure out who can provide me with some spiritual guidance,
Mm-hmm.
I take the parts that I like, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this pastor, he says, and this is my interpretation of what he said, we're all in over our heads. And then he also said, and this is my interpretation, none of us have life figured out yet.
That is
right?
yeah.
Right? So I understand in some ways we are doing the best that we can, but sometimes when we are doing the best we can, that's not enough for some people. But then if other people cannot meet our expectation, I think that's where we have to lower it and bring it down to 0. Then no one can, make you suffer anymore.
I see.
Right? Because Eleanor Roosevelt, she said, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
That's true. Like you have
Right?
to be the one to allow that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you have to have conscious decisions and thinking patterns to ask yourself, am I giving my power away?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
am I letting this situation bother me every day?
Right. Yeah.
And that's where we have to make those conscious decisions of whether we allow these certain situations to affect us or not. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still learning this every day.
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
yeah. A
so we're
lesson.
all works in progress.
Yeah.
So all of us are like this, over our heads, right? And we don't know what the hell we're doing,
Honestly, I don't think anyone knows what they're doing like right now. Like we're just still figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah, but we need to give people the space, the safe spaces to learn, but also be accountable. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like when I went to Marquette High School, I was just like, wow, you guys have a conflict resolution class in high school? Oh my God. And you guys talk about accountability?
Like we need more of that. And I
Yeah,
don't think,
right.
yeah.
I honestly said in my speaking engagement to the high school students, where even the mayor of Alhambra was present. I was so happy she was there to support me. So honored. She even came like last minute. I'm like, oh,
Like, wow.
oh, my voice matters to you. Thank you. You
Yay.
know? And so when I was speaking to the students, I told them, sometimes adults are not very good at accountability because why? They were never taught it.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have enough discussions about open transparency, accountability, and humility,
Yeah.
because accountability even includes you know, having the courage to have honest, open conversations that make you feel uncomfortable because you're trying to humble your ego.
Yeah.
After hurting someone's feelings. And having the collaborative spirit to be able to come together, hear each other's side of the story, and then say, what can we do better so we don't come into this same predicament again?
Right.
Together, collaboratively come together to think together and try to make it so that, you know, it's not, we can work together to solve the issue together, not just like, oh, you know, I have all the answers and we don't want your input, so let's make this law. I'm like, wait, what? You know, like, why aren't you getting our feedback?
Yeah.
You
Like,
know?
yeah.
So yeah, there right now actually there is like there are controversial mental health Senate bills that are being pushed forward in the state of California. And I think that it's, you know, so crucial for Californians to understand these Senate bills that are being pushed forward, like Senate Bill 326, that Gavin Newsom is likely to sign off on. And it'll make it so that, and Gavin Newsom is using the word modernization of the MHSA, Mental Health Services Act, to designate. So the Mental Health Services Act, Proposition 63, many years ago, was created to do a 1% on millionaires. So if a person was considered a millionaire, they were requested to pay additional taxes. And so part of that money was going to go into like community services for individuals who need services, and like just like organizations like NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which I've been part of for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And so have you heard of them?
Actually, no. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so
Yeah.
NAMI, I was so honored to be involved with NAMI on many different levels, from the local level to the LA County level to the California level and the national level. And they're a great they're a good organization with when it comes to support, like support as in the emotional support. So let's say that, you know, because for me, I did not feel like I had the support I needed from my own family to, you know, live in my truth and speak my mind, because they're like, don't tell everyone that you have a condition, you know, like, you know, because I'm just like, well, I'm just trying to say that I have a mental health disability where, you know, I'm not able to actually hold down a full-time job because my disability prevents me from being able to, you know, I just can't handle a full-time job. And because I'm constantly always thinking outside the box, and people are not always open to new ideas, and it's makes me feel like I'm a black sheep in these organizations.
Yeah.
And, you know, because all they want people to do is just do the work, do the work, do the work. Don't question, don't question, don't question. Just do the work, do the work, do the work. I'm like, but I want to question. I want to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, and, you know, what's the overall cause, you know?
Right. Yeah. And like that lifestyle is just not for you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I just realized that I actually don't, I'm not compatible with a full-time job, because it's very restrictive.
Yeah.
right?
Repetitive too, I'd say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because if I'm not able to work in a space that allows me to critically think and try to create
Mm-hmm.
new things, programs, like I feel stifled.
Right.
And so it's just, I guess sometimes I feel like when people create jobs, sometimes they don't realize that supervisors don't always have the good training to be able to honestly treat their employees with dignity and respect when they have different opinions.
Yeah.
And they don't always provide people, their employees or students, a school, the students in school, they don't provide the safe spaces for people to call people out on their bullshit when they know that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, bad teachers getting away with having an affair with a student,
Oh. Yeah.
or like, you know, and they never got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or just teachers not held accountable for being a mandated reporter when they were aware that their student was raped by a fellow student,
Mm-hmm.
and there's just so much, like lack of courage from people who don't know how to step up when they know that things that are happening that are wrong, like they turn a blind eye,
Right.
right? It's very
Yeah.
discouraging.
Yeah, it is. I think, isn't that called the bystander effect? Where like that's part of it too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I actually do remember when I was in junior high here in the San Gabriel Valley, like I saw a white kid, a small, scrawny white kid being bullied by a bigger, student. And he just like, his position was kind of like this. He's like standing like this. He put his foot out like that. And then the student, he said, tie my shoe,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
as a kid in junior high, I'm like, what is he doing?
Yeah, like what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like what I saw, but at that time I didn't have the words
Mm-hmm.
to to be able to
So,
confront the
yeah.
bully,
Yeah.
who was actually my year.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes wonder if the bully ever apologized to, the one that he bullied.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I was bullied too in
Yeah.
junior high. And nobody teaches you in school, or not even your own parents teach you how to advocate for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't even know the word advocacy until after college.
Oh wow. That's a while long after junior high.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like that was not really part of my vocabulary until after college, because I never learned how to speak up for myself. I
Oh.
mean, sometimes I try to, but in some ways I kind of felt like Maya Angelou growing up, because I think a period of Maya Angelou's life, she became mute when some trauma happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I felt like I was traumatized when my own father, when I was a kid, he shushed me or told me to go away when I had a very valid reason. Like, you know, like we were talking about saving face earlier, right? Like we
Yeah.
don't, Asian traditional parents are so fixated on saving face. So when I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, if you care so much about saving face, then why are you yelling at people over the phone?
Right? Like it doesn't make any sense. It's
Mm-hmm.
hypocritical. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that's when my dad shushed me or told me to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And from then on, that's when I realized that that's when my first or one of my early self-limiting thoughts began,
Right.
because that's when I started to tell myself my voice doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
So,
very sad. Yeah.
yeah, right? Because I think our traumas are born from the misunderstandings that we have with people from our younger days. And we don't have the opportunity to talk it out
Mm-hmm.
because the opportunity never arose.
Right. Yeah.
If, right?
And it's
Yeah.
like, in addition to that, I feel like a lot of people just don't know how to bring it
Mhm.
up. And it's definitely something that can be challenging if we don't know how to do it.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. But it's like, I guess why I feel like the reason why I actually feel like I'm a spiritual healer is because I raise these topics, and I know that it makes people feel very uncomfortable,
Mm,
but it's like we need to learn how to sit with that discomfort.
yeah.
And that's where the awkwardness comes out. But if you can just sit in that discomfort a while longer, you'll learn to tolerate it.
Yeah,
Right?
eventually. Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
it's like with practicing any skill, communication is one of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you just try to find all the vocabulary possible, or expose yourself to different speakers who teach you about trauma informed care, or like learning about microaggressions, or what is the American Disabilities Act, and how can that help me to be feel more protected, or um it's we just and just even trying to find safe spaces like support groups where we can have these open, honest discussions without fearing any retaliation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because those spaces are so important, and that's why I actually facilitate support groups.
That's so good.
Because yeah, because I
Yeah.
mean, people need to feel heard and seen, and I like being able to provide that safe space for people. And but most of the time I think people are just like for example, like sometimes, like for support groups and stuff, I actually am one of the first people to speak out and share. And what I would do realize is that when one person shares their story from their heart authentically,
Yeah.
it gives everyone else after that the permission to do the same.
Yeah, because then they would feel comfortable. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I usually, you know, sometimes start first, and and that,
Mm-hmm.
because because taking that first step, you may be a nonconformist, but like I believe in sharing my story so that other people don't feel alone.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So, but we all gotta, live in our truths, tell our stories, and that's my husband that you just saw walking up and down.
I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, he's actually my angel, and he's seen all sides of me. He's seen my angry side, and and that side has been coming out more so over this last year, because I've been learning to feel all of my uncomfortable emotions, and this is what I call shadow work.
Yeah.
Because once you learn to truly face yourself and get to know yourself and learn how to be your own best friend, and keep encouraging yourself despite all the mistakes you've made in your life, you just have to I actually listen to my speaking engagements to try to keep me encouraged, because we can be very forgetful human beings, and we have to learn a lesson over and over and over until the universe is like, okay, I think you figured it out now.
Like, let's move on.
Right? Yeah, it's like, okay, I think you need a lesson in patience. Let's see if you can do that. And then
Yes.
so the universe sends you many different lessons, like, okay, let's see how much you can tolerate today.
Well, that's it for today's therapy reveal. I hope you guys learned a thing or two from Emily's experiences as an active mental health advocate, and hope you guys will stick around and stay tuned for the fourth and final episode of the Facing Adversity series with Emily Wu Truong. And this fourth and final episode of the series will be released next Wednesday at around this same time. And I hope to see you guys then. Until next time.